You are tuned in to the Empowerment Hour podcast, your digital global classroom where individuals across all ages, backgrounds, and career levels tune in for guidance and motivation to live life on their own terms. It's where inspiring thought leaders, modern-day influencers, and social game changers come to discuss their own personal journeys and have real conversations about the journey to success. I am your host, Nancy Ruffin, and every week I bring you raw and unfiltered conversations about the obstacles we all encounter, the times we felt like giving up, and the things that keep us forging forward. It's where passion and purpose intersect. So if you're ready to start living on purpose, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. We are back with another episode of the Empowerment Hour podcast. I am your host, Nancy Ruffin, and I am back from vacation, guys. As many of you may know, if you've been tuning into me, if you've been watching my stories and following my social media, the family and I were away on vacation. We went to Disney World. We took the kids. It was my youngest daughter's 3rd birthday. So as a birthday present, we gifted her with a trip to Disney World. And I will tell you that although I was beyond exhausted, the trip was a huge success. The kids had an amazing time. We were able to do a lot of the things that they wanted. We had breakfast with the characters, so they were able to personally meet Minnie and Mickey and Goofy and Donald and have breakfast with them. So that was really exciting. We also took the girls to the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique inside the Cinderella Castle. And that was such a cute experience for them because they really got pampered. They got their nails done. They got their hair done. And they were really being catered to like hand and foot. And the kids just really got a huge kick out of it. And then, of course, we did some of the rides. And I think for me, what really made the trip phenomenal was just the service that we received. Disney really goes all out to ensure that you and your family have an amazing time. We stayed at the Disney Contemporary, so we stayed at one of the resorts within Disney, which made things so much easier because we did not have to rent a car. There was we didn't have to travel. Everything was happening like right in our hotel. And so all we had to do was take the monorail to the different parks, which was super, super convenient. But I would recommend to those of you who are considering going to Disney, if you have young children, and by young, I would say, 7 and under, I highly recommend that you rent a stroller when you're in the parks because it is a lot of walking. It is hot. And for young kids who may not be accustomed to walking long periods of time, the stroller really comes in handy. And I know that for us, it did. It made the experience that much more better and fruitful because the kids were not complaining about being tired from walking. They were getting pushed around. We had these electronic fans for them. And so they really enjoyed themselves. Me, on the other hand, I wish I would have had a stroller for myself. But for the most part, really what you want is to make sure that your kids are comfortable and that they're having an amazing experience. But I will tell you, I've been to Disney plenty of times. I went as a kid and I went many times as an adult because my sister took her kids, and so I was forced to go with them. And then my parents live in Florida, so we've always had the opportunity to go to Disney. But boy, is it expensive. Like, I didn't realize it was as expensive as it is. And there was a moment when we were in the hotel and we were by the pool, and I was kind of sitting by myself on one of the beach chairs poolside while my husband was in the pool with the girls. And just for a moment, I stared at them and I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude, because in that moment I realized that there's so many people who don't get to provide those experiences to their children, right? And so while it may not be a huge thing for some people, it really was something big for me, just because to see the happiness and joy on their faces, to be able to take them somewhere outside of their norm, to be able to hop on a plane and fly to another environment, and then to provide them with an experience that they hadn't experienced before, was so humbling to me. And so it's those moments that really make me appreciate my life, the many gifts that God has blessed us with. And it really is a reminder for me to not take anything for granted, because not everyone can afford to do that. Right? A lot of people are struggling just to make ends meet, just to put food on the table, just to keep a roof over their heads. And yet here I am being able to do that and more. And so, for those of you out there who are listening, you might be feeling like you don't measure up. You might be feeling like what you're doing is not enough. Just take a moment to step back and just be thankful for whatever it is that you do have. If you have a roof over your head, thank God for that. If you are able to feed your family every single night, if you're able to have a warm meal, thank God for that. If you have a car and you're able, to use that car to get you to and from work, even if it's not a luxury car, even if it's not a high-end car, if you have a reliable car that can get you from point A to point B, be thankful for that. Be thankful for the fact that you're alive, that you're able to see, that you're able to smell, to touch, to feel. These very small things, if you step outside of your day-to-day activities and really allow yourself a moment to reflect on all of the blessings that you have, it just makes life that much more meaningful, and for me, being poolside and being able to watch my kids play in the pool and just look at me and say, Mommy, this is the best day ever. It really humbles me, and I'm just really, really grateful that I am in a position where I'm able to do that. And so I never take anything for granted, because I know that while I have something today, life comes at us fast, right? Things happen, and things can change in the blink of an eye. So I never try to take any of my blessings for granted. And so I ask that you all don't overlook your blessings, even if you feel like you're not as blessed because you're not able to do some of the things that maybe your friends are doing or that you see people on social media doing. Understand that you still have many blessings of your own, and just be grateful for that. One of the things that I really enjoyed while I was in Florida was that we were also able to spend time with my parents, because as many of you may know, or maybe you don't know, they recently moved back to their house in Florida. They had been here in New Jersey with my sister and I for probably 10 years, and they finally moved back this past year. So we spent a few days at the Disney resort, and then we were able to go and spend some time at my mom and my dad's house, which was really good because they ended up hosting a barbecue for us, and a lot of my family came over. So people that I hadn't seen in a really long time, I was able to see and talk with and really catch up, with. And it's great. Whenever I'm able to be with my family, it's always an amazing time. I didn't get to rest like I wanted to, but I was able to spend time with my family, so it was really worth it. But then, when I got back, we had a freaking snowstorm. Like, what was up with the first snowstorm of this year? First of all, it wasn't that bad in that the snowfall itself was not a lot. I think in my area here in Jersey, we got maybe 4 or 5 inches, 6 inches max That is not a huge amount of snowfall. But when I tell you that this storm paralyzed New York City and New Jersey, wow. It took me 4 hours to get home on what would normally be a 45-minute commute from New York City. And so I will tell you, when I got to the Port Authority on, I think it was Wednesday that the snowstorm happened last week, that lines for the buses were ridiculous. They were beyond anything I have ever seen in my 10 years living in Jersey and commuting to and from New York City. So I was online, and it had gotten to the point where I really began to get scared. And what I mean is that the crowds were so huge, the lines were so long that you literally had no space to move. And so my fear was that it was like a fire hazard. There was like safety issues, because all it really would have taken was for one irate passenger, for one person to really kind of go off to cause a really chaotic situation. And so for that reason, I was like, you know what? I need to figure out an alternate way to get home. There's no way I can stay here with these crowds, and I was just afraid, really, that something was going to pop off and I was going to get caught in the middle of something. So there was this young woman who was standing in front of me online. We started chatting, and we discovered that we lived really close to each other. So we both suggested, do you want to leave? Should we leave here? And so we did, and we decided to take the New Jersey Transit train. And I will tell you that even though it took me 4 hours to get home, it was by far the best decision I could have made, because in speaking with other friends who stayed at Port Authority and waited for the buses, some of those people were there 6-7 hours. They didn't get home till 10 o'clock at night, which is insane. So me and my new friend, Denise, we decided to take our chances with the train, and it really ended up paying off because we were home by 7 o'clock. But I will tell you that it was not expected. It was horrible. It was horrible. And for those of you who got stuck in that nightmare of a commute, you know what I'm talking about. But this has been a really eventful past week for me, just coming back from vacation. We had the snowstorm. I had a lot of meetings at work, and I also facilitated a workshop at Hostos Community College, which was amazing. And one of the things that I really enjoy is working with students, college students especially, because they are really amped up, to take control of their lives. And it really was a transformative workshop, not only for myself, but I think for the students as well. A lot of the feedback that I got was that they wanted more of the event, more of the workshops. And I think that that's something I'm going to start looking into as I step in to the new year, into 2019, is really looking to see how I can establish myself within the college circuit to maybe, facilitate these workshops on an ongoing basis. Because I will tell you that when I was in college, though I was learning, the academics and really focused on the things that I needed to do while I was in my career, I really did not have the proper guidance on how to set goals, how to set realistic goals, how to set deadlines, how to create a business roadmap for the steps that I have to take, to make certain things happen. Because it's really easy for us to see the bigger picture, right? To see what that end result is. But we don't focus on the day-to-day activities that we must do in order to get us to that big picture. And so in my workshops, that's really what I am focusing on. I am helping individuals create that road plan, create that roadmap, for their life, for their vision. Because without having a clear plan, without being intentional, it's really easy to lose focus on the work that you should be doing on a daily basis to get you to where you say you want to be in your future. And this is why I'm really passionate about the work that I do. One, because I've seen it work firsthand in my own life. But then what's really the affirmation or the confirmation for me is when I see the attendees that come to my workshop and how it has really catapulted them, to a different stratosphere when it comes to their vision and to their goals. And so if you have never attended a vision board workshop, if you've never attended any of my workshops, I just recently added a second workshop in January because my first one sold out so quickly. So if you want to get aligned with your goals, if you want to create a sustainable action plan, if you want to become a part of a community of women that really support you and are going to be there for you and they're going to help you stick to your goals throughout the year, then I encourage you to purchase a ticket to the workshop. I have also added some VIP tickets for those of you who need some more personal attention. If you want one-on-one coaching from me, if you want for me to really help you get clear on what your plan is, if you want me to review your action plan and your goals, then purchase the VIP ticket, because then you will get a more personal support from me. And the tickets can be purchased by going to www.vision2019part2.eventbrite.com. I recommend to get your tickets as soon as possible. My workshops really sell out quickly, in part because they work, because there's so much success that comes out of them. And so I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but it is what it is. And I'm just being honest. If you want to get your ticket, don't wait. Cop your ticket today. Buy one for your sister, buy one for your best friend, buy one for your mom, make it a girl's date, whatever, but come and get your life together, get your goals aligned and become really clear on what you want your vision to be. What else do I want to share with you guys? Yes. So I also, this week am appearing as a guest on one of my personal favorite podcasts. And that's with my girl, Eileen Carta Campos, the Mommy Teaches podcast. So be sure to head on over to the Mommy Teaches podcast and check out my interview where Eileen is interviewing me, and get to hear me on the other side of the mic. It was a really great interview. Eileen had some really good questions. I talk about my upbringing, my past, the relationship I have with my sister, the reason why I am so committed to this work that I do. There's just so much that we talked about. So make sure that you head on over there after you listen to this podcast, and make sure that you subscribe to it, and make sure that you leave Eileen a comment. Let her know if you enjoyed it or if you didn't enjoy it, right? You can let her know that too. Another thing is, this week I am also appearing on a televised interview, so you can catch me tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 p.m. at Vibe to Vibe TV, where I am being interviewed by the lovely Nini Grace. So that was a lot, right? In the first, 15 minutes of the podcast, I really just was trying to catch you guys up on what I've been doing the past couple of weeks. And really what I wanted to talk to you guys this week on this podcast is Thanksgiving, right? And not just the fact that we're celebrating Thanksgiving this week, but the act of giving thanks, right? And I talked about this a little while ago, and being in gratitude and being able to just step back and look at your life, and not just look at your life and not look at where you are presently, but look at how far you've come, and I don't know about you, but I know that for me, there was a time where I felt like my life was in turmoil. There was a time when I had no clear direction on where my life was headed, on what I wanted to do with my life, on what my purpose was. I was a hot mess. I talk about that on Eileen's podcast as well. And I was all over the place. And it required for me to do a lot of self-work, a lot of introspective work. I really had to get clear and honest with myself on who I was, on my behaviors, and those behaviors that were not productive or conducive to my growth. There's a lot of work that goes into becoming a healed, happy, and healthy individual. Like, we don't just arrive at this place, right? It is a long, often difficult journey to look at ourselves and be honest with ourselves on the work that we need to do. And, so for me this week, I am really in a place of just giving thanks to God for bringing me past some of those moments in my life where I felt like He had forsaken me, where I felt like I wasn't going to make it through another day. There was a time where I didn't feel like I wanted to live any longer. I struggled with just where my life was, and I remember as a teenager, there were times where I thought about committing suicide. And yeah, this might be a shocking revelation to you guys, right? As you follow my journey now and you see how far I've come. But there were moments in my life where I was extremely depressed. I was just not happy with who I was or the circumstances that I was with. I struggled with self-confidence. And I talk about that now because I attended church today, and the sermon today was about depression and about mental illness and how we put so much pressure on ourselves because we begin to live lives that God did not intend for us, right? We were not put on this earth to struggle or to be unhappy or to even ever contemplate taking our lives, right? But yet there comes a time based on whatever lifestyle we're living, and this is what Pastor Taylor was talking about, that depression really comes from the way that we live our lives, right? And the way that we either take care of ourselves or neglect to take care of ourselves. But it's not something that we have to stay in, right? There is help out there. There are things that we can do to make ourselves well, and for me, I can't pinpoint exactly what that was, but I do know that I had my sister, I had aunts who were always very present in my life, who were always there to lend a listening ear. So during those moments where I felt like my parents weren't listening to me, or where I thought I might have been alone, like I always had people that I could turn to in a non-judgmental way and really express what I was going through. And I think that a lot of it also for me was a cry for help or a cry for attention. Because as, a teenager, I probably, maybe like 17 years old, my parents had a lot of issues in their own marriage. My mom, moved out of our house probably for a year or two. My sister and I stayed with my dad. And as teenage girls, without a constant mother figure in the home, that was really difficult because that left us with our dad, who then had to take on the role of both mom and dad while simultaneously now having to keep food on our table and pay the bills, right? We used to be a 2-income family home when my mother was there, but then when she moved out, she took her salary with her, and so that left my dad having to raise 2 young girls, but also making sure that he could support us. And so what that meant was that he had to take on a second job. And what that meant was that he wasn't always able to be physically present in our home. And I will tell you that my father is the measure by he is the example by what I measure every man to, which was why it's no coincidence that I chose my husband to be my husband, because he reminds me a lot of my dad as it relates to family, as it relates to commitment, as it relates to being a father to our kids. Like my husband has a lot of the same morals and values that my dad has. But those moments were really hard for me, because while that was also happening, my father started dating, and he started dating a woman that was much younger than him, someone who my sister and I did not like. And I became really depressed about that. And so, I used to do things to hurt myself, and I think that it was just a cry for attention because I didn't want my dad to be with this woman. I mean, fast forward all these years later, thank God none of that worked. Thank God that him and my mom reconciled, and we were able to restore our family unit and structure. But I share all this to say that no one's life is perfect, and even those who we think their lives are perfect, there are secrets and there are experiences that they have gone through that you may not be aware of. And so we have to learn to be a little bit more accepting, a little bit more understanding, a lot less judgmental of other people and the way they show up in the world, right? Because we all come into this world with our own personal experiences. And depending on what those things are, that is what we're going to present to the world. It's how we're going to engage with others and how we're going to interact and how we respond to certain situations. And so for me, this is something that I am really self-aware about. And I still have a lot of learning to do. I'm not perfect. I'm still growing, and every encounter that I have with an individual shows me something new, not just about them, but about myself. And so a lot of times when I find myself in situations where I may be bumping heads with another individual, I kind of take that as an opportunity for me to self-reflect and be like, okay, why is it that I'm bumping heads with this person? What is it about them that I'm resisting? Because if I'm resisting it, then that means that is something within myself that I have to work on, right? So that's something that I want you to become aware of in your own life too. When you're having conflicts with someone, what is the root of that conflict? Where is it stemming from? And what is it about that person that you have a problem with? Because chances are what you see in other people are the same exact things that you see in yourself, or you may not be aware about that's happening within you. But yes, the more that you look for those things, the more that you're honest with yourselves, the easier it is to work on those character flaws, because we all have them, and I don't know. But back to, what I was talking about with church, and today, the conversation was how specifically now in this day and age, there is a larger number of people who are suffering from depression, from mental illness, and it's because of the way that we live our lives, this idea that we're constantly comparing ourselves to others. One of the things that Pastor Taylor said in church was that we have to highlight the real instead of comparing ourselves to others' highlight reels, right? So we look on social media, we're on Instagram, and we're seeing a snippet of a person's life, right? And that snippet might look like they are living their best lives. But remember, it's just a snippet. It's just one moment, in their lives. And we don't know all of the moments before that, what those moments look like. We don't know what they went through to get to where they are today. Just as you can look at me, you can see my family, you can see my children, you can see me going on vacation, right? But understand that there was a time where my life was not this great. There was a time when I was depressed. There was a time when I contemplated taking my own life. There was a time where I struggled with my own confidence and my own self-doubt and my own value and my own worth, right? I did not just miraculously get to be who I am today. It required a lot of work. It required therapy. It required group sessions with people. It required marriage counseling when my marriage was in shambles and me and my husband had no idea how we were going to function together, right? No one's life is perfect, even if that's what they're showing you on social media. And that's what I really want you guys to think about. So wherever you are currently in your own life, whether you're in a great place or whether you're in a not so great place, understand that everything is temporary, right? We don't live a great life every single day of our life. There are moments where we are going to struggle. There are moments when we are going to doubt ourselves. But then there are going to be moments where we feel like we're on top of the world, right? And we're going to feel like everything is going our way and we're going to be super happy. But all of that is temporary. Our feelings are temporary. They're fleeting. So one moment we can be happy, the next moment we can be sad. And so one thing that Pastor Taylor also said today is that never make a permanent decision based on a temporary situation or a temporary feeling. So if you're someone who is struggling with depression, if you're someone who has contemplated suicide or taking your own life, know that there is help. Know that whatever you're going through right now is temporary. Know that you can overcome it. Know that you can go to God and you can give him everything and that he will get you through that. He did not put any of us on this earth to endure suffering, right? And even if we do suffer, he has promised us, heaven. He has promised us, a life greater than we've ever imagined. We just have to have faith. We have to trust in him. We have to trust his purpose for our lives, and if you are there, I encourage you to seek out help. Please go and talk to someone. Don't carry this burden on yourself. We are entering the season of Thanksgiving. I am thankful for you. I am thankful for your life. I am thankful for the gifts that God has bestowed upon you. Even if you may not know right now what those gifts are, understand that you are endowed with a gift that is uniquely yours. No one else on this earth, on this planet, has what God has given you. And if you are struggling to discover what that is, invest in yourself, invest in your health, in your mental health, in your spiritual health, invest in your personal development. There's so many things and resources out there to help you, to support you, and never take your life for granted. You are worthy of living a fruitful, happy, healthy, peaceful life. And so with that, I am going to end this episode of the Empowerment Hour podcast. Again, I am grateful for you. I am thankful for you. As we celebrate Thanksgiving this week, just take a moment to acknowledge where you are right now, how far you have come, how far you have overcome all of the things that have been designed to knock you down and keep you down. And if no one has told you recently, I love you, you are worthy. And you are worthy. I have nothing else to say. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, guys. Enjoy this week. Go out there. Set your intentions, set your goals, take care of yourself, take care of each other. And until next time, mi gente, crush those goals. If you enjoyed this episode of the Empowerment Hour podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, share, and encourage your friends to tune in. It is only with your help that we're going to continue to grow.